Welcome to our third session today here at the KNX Dialogues. I'm very pleased to introduce a new product launch, the KNX IoT multi-touch glass keyboards. With me today is Duarte Geraldes, who is the general manager at A-Touch. Duarte, thank you very much for joining us today and to help us to understand more about the multi-touch glass keyboards.
Thank you for the invitation, Bob. Thank you, Dialogue, to be able to expose ourselves in this way.
So we're going to be talking about these multi-glass keyboards, and this session is going to highlight how KNX is adapting to the demand for simplified, intuitive interfaces like multi-touch glass keyboards. So, Duarte, we're going to explore how these advancements contribute to KNX IoT developments, how they enable faster installations with minimal physical disruption. And the audience, we're inviting them to join us to discover the strategic advantages of KNX IoT in expanding market opportunities and enhancing project efficiency. But Duarte, before we really get started on the product, let's just talk, a little bit about A-Touch, because you're Portugal's largest home automation system manufacturer and a well-established field. Tell us a little bit more about the company itself.
So, Bob, we started off as a own proprietary protocol, meaning we were not KNX, and we've been doing our market share nationally and in some countries, specifically Portuguese-speaking countries. But we realized we were missing out on a big ecosystem, which is the KNX. We tend to resist that. But once you realize the benefits of being part of that association, being part of a protocol, that it does have some rigidity due to having to please everyone, but actually it's a standard for the world, or the biggest standard for the world of automation right now, and BMS. So once we fully accept that we can't do our own thing alone, and can't conquer the world by yourself, you realize how powerful the KNX community is. And therefore, we decided to join this and present in Lightning Build in 2004. Basically, just the part of our range that really creates value added or benefits, which are the multi-touch glass panels. So we're not bringing the whole range to the KNX. We are not converting a full range to the KNX. We're doing just the glass touch panels, because this is where it's really premium, aligned with the KNX typical products, premium, high end. With obviously the KNX protocol behind it. And because there are so many people doing such a good job in the DIN-rail actuators and in parts or dimensions that we're not, it's not our niche target strategy. We're going to delegate and invite what the KNX partner installer already does, which is integrate multiple brands using what each brand has the best to offer. And that's really, I think, the biggest driver for the KNX community and protocol is that an installer, a partner, can use the best of each of the brands and bring it home. A big project with the best, well, you can argue what's the best for each case and each project, right? But according to his perspective, and the client's specification or scope, he knows how to tailor a group of projects into the best outcome possible. And we want to be a piece of that outcome here.
Well, we're very glad that you are, because the intuitive interface is very important, for the future, of how home automation is using that. So let's start with you. You have a range of products, and in that you have like an OLED and a thermo. So, talk to me about the range and where it starts and why you have the different opportunities inside of that product range.
So before going to the KNX IoT, if I may, Bob, I'm going to bring small standard product up. And basically this product allows you to do intuitive swipe up and down, so vertical for the shutters, for the blinds, the multi-touch, the touch for all, and other functions such as thermoprobe. So it is very simplified interface. Okay, this is our standard range for the KNX touchpads. So this is the 95% of the product in the house. Then we have a product with this, with has a OLED in the middle that allows us to write messages, show temperatures, and so forth. So it's the keyboard with a display for an easier interface, for easier reading of the user if that's applicable. And then we're developing the thermostat for the same logic for the KNX TP, so for the twisted pair, which will be a full thermostat, not just a keyboard with a probe and messaging. So this is our standard range today. Moving down the line, we saw an opportunity for the KNX IoT to bring something to this, which...
Yeah, well, IoT is very popular today. I mean, if, again, it's one of those things that once it's there, everybody has to use it somehow. And it makes everything, come together. And that, so, if we can talk about, the advantage of multi-touch glass over other types of keypads, let's start with that basic because it's a sexy product, actually.
Yeah. So I can sell my queen. I can really embellish, the situation. The fact is, some markets do like the high-end premium glass, specifically the matte one that doesn't need any fingerprints, so it's very easy to clean, very non-greasy. Also, we really believe the key for success, specifically on residential, on commercial is a bit different, but specific on residential, the end user, the user that actually interacts with this on the day-to-day, needs to have something intuitive. We do not love, or we do not believe people need 13 or 40 buttons in a place, and they need to remember what does what. It is not our motto. It is not our essence as a company. We don't like to be compared to the iPhone, how touch panels kind of brought things simpler for everyone to use a phone. But the fact is that a glass high-end touch panel allows us to have as many interfaces as 13, 14 buttons without LED lights flashing in red and blue and green. This is not aligned to what we believe is what the high-end net worth individual is aiming for. Someone that has houses of millions wants to arrive home and wants things to work in a very simple, intuitive way. And this is what we believe we bring. Obviously, we're not owners of the truth, meaning some people find our keyboards very intuitive. Some people are afraid to touch it, okay? And this is why on the commercial side, it's a bit harder to have such clean design keyboards. And that's why we have the one with the OLED in the middle, so that it transmits information for people to know how to use it. So we believe for each segment, for each niche, there is the right product within the simplicity of what we believe we should be bringing to the market.
And in fact, being simple is the hardest thing to do technologically. It's very easy to get 13 buttons.
Yes.
But
your mind goes into getting functionalities and features and complicated things. We can do it, others can't. But most people want it to do the basic stuff well.
And again, in a household, you want, various members of the household and people who are servicing the household. You want them all to be able to use the interface.
Exactly.
So you can't design it for the engineer that lives there. It has to fit for, her husband and for, the kids and for the, cleaner and everyone else, right?
We learned that, example, we have a remote control. Sometimes we program it just for the maid. So it has 4 buttons. So she knows let's open the blinds, close the blinds, open the lights, close the lights. And that's it. And this is not on the KNX range, but on the other range. So we learned this, and we learned that normally we saw some fights already between the prescriber in the family of the automation and all the others. Like, yep, this is great for you, but we can't live with this. So we feel this, we see this, we understand this part.
Yeah, I mean it's a normal thing in a household. And you mentioned, I thought it was wonderful that you mentioned the fact that the product is easy to clean, because this is something which in the household becomes a very defensive point as well, between the occupants. And there are, parts of the world that are very, very concerned about, the ability to clean something that's in the house. And so
Yep.
that's, very useful in that. But let's turn towards the KNX partner, and take me through, what you see as the job site, interaction. So, maybe, how the integrator, handles the programming before or after. Tell me about how you see the integrator bringing the product into the project.
So, as we're learning in the KNX world, also we have experience outside, but we need to understand that the KNX reality might differ a bit. But what we see so far is that many partners like to do the programming on a test bench before going to the job site. Now, obviously, this is easier in some situations than others, and when you're doing a support, like fixing something or replacing a module, that's not so easy to do. But we see a lot that practice as a good practice, as the partner knows how to prepare his work so that he is credible on the job site, so there's no surprises. And that's really, really something extraordinary in the KNX world from our perspective. From the perspective of the functionalities, obviously the partners study. They're very smart people that study the products and they know the functions and the objects they need. And so I think that's one of the beauties of the KNX ecosystem is that we have prepared people. We have people that know what they're talking about, and they give excellent feedback for us to improve our product. And that's for us, in our perspective, that's most likely the best feature on the KNX ecosystem because our range is tailored for electricians, not for trained people, for people that do simple stuff. And that's one of our biggest gaps of communication. And KNX solves this very well.
And I thank you very much for joining KNX Dialogue, but this is part of how the community communicates, and it's a way that we come together and inform each other, so that fits in very well. The KNX community tends to be very passionate, and you'll see in the dialogues that there's going to be questions here, and you'll see some of the passion shining through. So the right KNX IoT product allows you to tap into a simpler, and a less physical intervention for renovation, if I can say that. And
Yeah.
and this is, part of the key to the success.
We believe that when we saw the mix in Lightning Building, we saw a partner that helped us with dreaming a bit the solution. We have the wall actuators, and we had to bring the kit from KXTP to IoT, and the partner allows us to do that in a very sophisticated way. And we saw that it was secure. We saw it was mesh based. We saw that we can easily use our 230 volt, 230 interface. So basically, the TP cable in renovation is not needed. You can just take the wall from the module from the wall, connect the 230 volts, and the communication will be the wireless, right? So we see KNX IoT as the next generation after the RF because of the mesh, because of the encryption, the secure. So this is really interesting because a client can do still the programming on the test bench, but on the job site, there's no rewiring, or there's no rewiring that needs intervention of other specialties that not just wires. Meaning, you don't need to do new paths. You don't need to take the cables out and in, and you can damage the painting or something. You just need to take out the current conventional switch, connect to 30 line, okay, put it back in, obviously the outputs, and put it in the wall. So connection wise, it is that simple. And the aim is that we make it very simple to refurbish, renew projects. Okay, and these are commercial or residential. But the point here is that with the simplicity of the design and the high-end touch, you can reach nice, let's say, value proposition in terms of the niche market you want to go, and you can be fast in and out. So imagine if we can do a whole KNX installation in a day, and this is excluding the TP, so there is no TP involved. The TP, from an engineering perspective, from my engineering perspective, I love a good cable with communication secure that's physical. From the perspective of an installer, to go into a job site in and out fast, it is a bit more troublesome. Okay. Uh, But again, I need to do this. I'm an engineer in training. I would prefer TP or cable any day of the week. But then we realized that the problems we had with the smartphones in the past and the connection issues and the line dropping and how that improved. So we know technology has evolved to a point it is stable enough to be operating this kind of circumstances. And also because in our development, we consider putting the antenna will be actually behind the wall, behind the wall, but outside of the wall. It will be outside of the wall, behind the glass. And this means actually, if I may, this means actually that any kind of, for the engineers, Faraday cage, any kind of interference due to the construction will be avoided. So we believe this is actually, we are hitting the nail on the head with this.
Yeah.
Now, to say everyone who loves to do Wi-Fi or it's applicable to every job site, surely it's not. For that, we have the normal TP range. But for renewals, for fast in and out, we think it's amazing. And we have some other projects on the line to complement this range with some interesting things from a commercial usage perspective. I hope I answered your question. I lost myself there a bit.
You did great. It's quite clear. And so you have actually the story where it's simple to install, but then it's simple and intuitive on the other side for the end user. So I'm going to give you a free marketing slogan. Simple as glass. I mean, what is a simpler than glass? It's a very wonderful product that's very simple, and you are serving both ends with the simplicity and the intuitiveness that's very helpful in this sort of business. One last thing before we finish up here, because we're going to be running out of time, Dorothy. But the thing I wanted to ask you about was just you mentioned certification and is there a certification process going on?
We're starting the certification. Obviously, we need also, we're breaking ground here. Other companies are also breaking ground. We're not saying we're the only ones in the world, but we aim to be the first ones to have fully certified IoT touch panel with actuator in the back. So not just a touch panel, it needs to be both. It needs to be action in the back, so input and output perspective. And obviously, being leading this conversation in a way we didn't even expect. We just dreamt it in Lightning Billy, and it happened. We 2 months later we had a prototype working, and thanks to our partners also. And then now we need to make sure that everyone is ready to certify in a way that test procedures needs to be put in place by KNX Association. And obviously we might find in this process, being kind of the leading on this one, other products are certified. Let me state this. There are other IoT certified products, but not as complete, not as functional, or for different functions. And so we might find some kind of iteration with our partner and the KNX Association to make sure we manage to put down a test. I forget the correct name. I'm sorry. A test
like a test
specification for this.
Yeah.
Because there's no lab certifying KNX IoT except the KNX Association till today. As they put the specification out, the labs will be able to do it. So yeah. I hope I'm not being incorrect in any way.
No, it's wonderful. And it's good for people to know where it's at there. So anyways, we're out of time, but I wanted to thank you for joining us. The KNX IoT multi-touch glass keyboards from A-Touch. Thank you, Dorothy, for bringing that to us. And we enjoyed having you here on KNX Dialogues.
Thank you, Bob. Simple as glass. Thank you.
Simple as glass. Thank you.